I want to shower in your rot. My
This is
first.
actually what being married is like, where you like look your absolute worst, and they're like, "Dang, you're hot," and it's like, I, I don't know how to take that.
Filth are my politics. Filth is my life. Filth is my life. Take whatever you like.
Welcome to the CineFilth podcast, where an insurance agent and a stay-at-home mom discuss something that no other podcast has dared discuss before. Movies. Spooky movies, new movies, old movies, queer movies, all of the movies that your parents warned you about. My name is Genevieve, and I am here tonight with my co-host.
Mitchell.
This is our second video podcast. I'm still working out the kinks on my end because I want to see your face, but my camera is over there. So if you're making faces at me, I don't know if I'll ever know.
Speaking of kinks.
Ooh, a voyeur.
I was going to say something about how the visual element of myself is just kinky in itself. But then I was thinking about, I feel like the movie we're talking about today is kind of kinky. And by kind of, it's very kinky.
Yeah, it very much is.
It's a horny movie.
Yeah, in really surprising ways that I did not expect. It's really gross, but a lot of fun, and it feels almost, I say this in the best way, this is not an insult, it feels very childlike. Like, just a kind of whimsical sense of, like, well, what if I do this? What if I do that? What if I have a funny accent type thing?
What movie were we discussing today?
We are discussing the new film by Grace Glow...
Oh.
I have a hard time with her last name. Hold up. Grace Glowicki's Dead Lover is what we're discussing today. We both rented it on Letterboxd on their virtual video store, which is very different than the virtual video store that I live stream. It's a completely different thing. They actually rent out videos. I just talk about videos online. But yeah, this was my choice. Last week 2 weeks ago, we did Jennifer's Body for Your Birthday. And I was like, let's do something really weird now.
Yeah, we need to get back to our roots.
Yeah, I think this did the trick, for sure.
I mean, you told me, I watched the movie a few days before you, and you were very adamant about me not spoiling, which
Don't
to
tell
you...
me anything.
Yeah, you don't want to know if I liked it. I did. When I texted you, the only thing I shouldn't say the only thing, because somehow, I keep...
You just kept... I'm like, stop.
I know, I keep pushing the buttons to see how much I can say. But I said this is literally the perfect movie for CineFilth. It's...
Right.
I feel like this is the type of movie that has brought us together and to where we are. This is the type of... And of course, it was your recommendation. It's just like... Here's this weird ass fucking movie. Let's enjoy it together.
There's that meme of like Adam Sandler from the Meyerowitz stories where he's talking to his like 20-something daughter, and she's like, "Oh, I like Cindy Sherman," and he's like, "I showed you Cindy Sherman," and she's like, "Okay," and he's like, "You gotta listen to me. I have good recommendations." And that's how I feel. You're my 20-something daughter, and I'm Adam Sandler, being like, "Look, I told you."
And I can attest, you've never steered me wrong. I honestly can't think of anything you've ever showed me that I was like...
Mid.
Or I'm always entertained. Even if it's... I can't even say I've never not liked something, in all honesty.
Well, we still have time. Who knows how long we'll be doing this for.
You're bound to disappoint me at some point.
I'm only human.
Just like everyone else.
We were a little bit naughty and we shared a rental. And so we were trying to coordinate, and you were like, well, we could just like cover something else. So I'm like, no, we're covering this one.
I wasn't sure how committed you were to it, but yeah, I was
super committed. I
knew nothing of this movie.
Me neither. I saw screenshots, and I knew someone who I really respect. I'm just going to go ahead and say who. The critic, Mariah E. Gates. She, like, programmed it in Chicago, has like conducted interviews with the director, Grace, and all of that. And I was like, oh, it's just a never-ending cycle. Like, I respect her opinion, you respect my opinion, and then I give you delicious dead lover. But yeah, I was just totally a trust fall into this movie, so I was really happy with it when I did watch it, so that was good.
And it premiered at Sundance, right? I believe it was last year. I put the date in the Google Doc. But it came to streaming recently though, correct?
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago it showed up on Letterboxd because it was like a Letterboxd exclusive. So by the time this airs, maybe it will be on other sites, but when we watched it, it was only available on Letterboxd. It had a fairly limited release, like you weren't going to see it in your megaplex per se, but...
Yeah. Do you think Letterboxd is going to take off on that front?
I kind of hope so, because there's another movie I really want to see called Stolen Kingdom, which is a documentary that's being distributed by a new distributor called Antenna Releasing. And that one looks really good to me, where it's about people who do like urban exploring. I don't know if that's a phrase for it, but that's what I'm calling it. And apparently somebody broke into like Disney World and stole an animatronic, and it's kind of about that. All the hoopla surrounding that, so it's almost like true crime, but also just like watch weird people do weird things, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good to me. Anyway, enough of a spotlight on that. I think just this past month really enthralled me with the video store. The first couple rollouts, I was like, this is fine, whatever. But now that they're doing more exclusive independent releases, I'm like, oh, this is actually really cool.
It is very cool. If there was a perfect spot for where true indie films could go, Letterboxd makes sense.
It's the easiest way to like help your other cinephile friends find what they're looking for, you know, like Dead Lover. Which, before we talk about the movie, I was just thinking about this. You know, there was that big clickbait article about like, why are all the horror indie breakout hits, why do they have to be horror? I don't like horror. Why not me? You know? So there was that whole article in The Guardian, and it just got me to thinking, because I'm like, to me, these movies aren't that indie if they're being distributed by A24, Blumhouse, and stuff like that. Like, I know Obsession had a lower budget, like less than $1 million, which is low. And then Backrooms had like $10 million, which is a mid-budget movie. And so I'm just wondering, I'm like, does indie mean anything anymore?
We collectively probably need to reevaluate what that means.
Right. I've pinpointed it to a couple of things. You know, the Gotham Awards in New York, they used to have it, they had like a cap on their movies where you had to make your movie for less than $20 million, which wasn't, you know, that's not a low budget, but, you know, it was enough to keep out like the Marvel movies or whatever. And then they got rid of that cap. And I was like, yikes. I don't know. I just feel like lately it's more of a marketing term than like an actual thing that you can measure, you know?
I also feel like that term is thrown around a lot towards horror movies by non-horror fans. I guess I don't know really what an indie film is. Yeah, it's something that's not widely distributed, but it's like I saw Obsession at the AMC on release week. There were no barriers for me to see a lot of the movies I've been seeing.
Right? I kept coming up with like rules, you know, like, oh, if you're made for more than $1 million, then you're not really independent. And then I was thinking about it. I'm like, there's a lot of movies I like that no one's ever heard of, and they were made for more than $1 million. You know what I mean? Just because making movies is really expensive. So even if you are independent, sometimes somebody gives you a shit ton of money, you know, and you can make your movie. I could get sassy. There's a lot of stuff I see where people call things an indie movie, and I'm like, that is literally a Warner Brothers movie. I don't know what to tell you. But we're actually revolving. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I was watching some of the interviews of the cast for this movie, I wrote down independent of mind, vision versus independent of finance.
That's a good point, because like with Backrooms, that was a $10 million movie, right? But that is such the brainchild of Kane Parsons. It's not like somebody's been shopping around this script and then they're like, hey, Kane, you want to make this movie? Here, do everything we say. It's very much his vision. So and it had such a scrappy start from this kid, learning how to, I haven't seen it yet, but learning how to.
I have.
I know, I'm so jealous. I know. I feel like I'm like the only person I know who, like, when it got announced, I was like, back rooms? Yes, let's go. And now I'm like, gosh darn it, I'm the last to see it. That always happens. But anyway, he taught himself how to like do visuals himself on his computer, do not graphic design, effects, but like special effects and stuff, like animation. And so like that's scrappy. So I don't know. It's weird. But Dead Lover was made on a budget of $350,000. So that's pretty freaking cool.
I believe it was shot on 16 millimeter. It was shot on film.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, which we could get into, and that was a huge part of when they were talking about the film, is the way in which it came to be, as far as they did it like on a, what are they called? Like a black.
Yeah, a black.
What are a sound stage that was just, it looks like
I don't even know if it was a sound stage. It was like a black box theater is how I read it described as. Because I think a lot of like community theater background.
I feel like this movie reinvigorated my love and appreciation of community theater, as far as, and it made me envious. I'm like, this is what it could be if the community theater people would just quit trying to have egos and quit trying to make everything so serious and just had fun.
I feel like putting the creative power in the hands of the artists instead of it trickling down, decision by board and such. Instead, I feel like that would be like a true co-op community theater, and that's what's embodied in this movie, which we will get more into the whole black box of it all and the 16 millimeter. But Mitchell, do you have a synopsis? I have one if you don't, ready to go.
It's a Frankenstein story, which is the trend, which we can talk about that. But Gravedigger, she stinks. No one loves her. Nobody wants to fuck her. So then she finds a man can't have babies. They can't have babies because he's got bad seed. Baby gravy, no good. Goes overseas to get better baby gravy. On his way back, he dies. Does he die?
Yes, he does die. That is confirmed.
Yes, and all that's left of him is his finger. Gravedigger takes finger. She's actually, on top of being a gravedigger, she's also a mad scientist. So she finds a way of growing a whole new human body. Well, not really. She grows a really long finger and attaches it to the dead body.
And then she reanimates his body. And they're in conflict. And the finger is her lover's finger with like his consciousness, but it's just a finger.
A very long finger.
And none of this is really spelled out. You just kind of have to assume, like, oh, that's really him and the finger.
No, because it's in the bag. Remember, she's like, there's a scene of her holding a bag.
Oh, I just mean like it's consciousness, because like it gets reanimated. But at first I was like, I don't know if like that finger's acting on its own or if it's her lover. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. So
but
anyways,
it is.
The finger does hold the consciousness of the lover. The last 20 to 30 minutes of this movie are so chaotic. So
yeah. And then there's an opera singer who also is the reanimated body, and they have a lover that wants her back, but they don't want the crazy finger.
But then the gravedigger dies, and then the lover reanimates the gravedigger in the body of some guy that's in the ocean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The random like fisherman. Anyway, and then the fingers live happily ever after, because it is the gravedigger's finger, which also has a consciousness.
So is that exactly what your synopsis was?
Yeah, pretty much. This movie reminded me so much of like not these plot beats. These plot beats do not remind me of this, but they remind me so much of just playing pretend with toys. Like, and then this happens, and then this, and everyone has a weird voice. It's 4 actors playing multiple parts, except for the gravedigger, who has the one part. Grace, who is also the writer-director, is the only person who plays one role. And she also wrote it with her spouse, Ben Petrie, and he plays her lover. Yeah, they're a real couple. And in this movie, he looks like that commercial, the little boy who loves berries and cream. Mm-hmm. Like with
the Lord Farquaad. Yeah.
Yeah. And he sounds like him too. He's like, oh, I love you so much. And she talks like how I do Peppa Pig for my kid when we're playing pretend. And I'm like, oh, I'm Peppa Pig. That's how she talks. She's like, I need a lover, but I stink. And it's just so funny.
I took note when I saw the movie. I was like, what, there's some really interesting accent work going on in this. And I was so relieved when I was watching interviews and they're like, oh yeah, they were bad. We added some of those last minute. And I was like, okay.
My favorite one is there's like some townspeople who all have crazy accents, and one of them has like a Jamaican accent, but it's just like,
my God, yes. I can't remember. Was it one of the it was one of the because I think there's fishermen or something.
Yeah. It's just like, why did you choose to do that? I'm kind of obsessed.
They're workshopping that accent in this film, and I'm happy for them because I got a kick out of it. I just so many times I was like, this is what we're doing now. Yep, we've got a Jamaican sailor.
And I just want to talk about what's so fun about this movie is that it's so dark. Like, it is in this black box theater, so like the backgrounds are always like pitch black, and then everything is like lit with beautiful reds and blues and all these beautiful colors that really bring it to life and are so gorgeous to look at. And there are these times where they flash to like a fully lit shot, almost as if to say, yes, we can do this. We are choosing not to. But it just makes you appreciate everything so much more. Like both the lit shot, which is gorgeous, and also what they're actually doing within this really limited space. It's really cool.
That was something that really struck me about this movie, is just the way in which it's just like this clear example that you don't have to have unlimited resources to make something so visually stunning. It was so simple, but so effective and interesting. And just the washes of color, and the fact that I just love that they had the confidence to be like, yeah, we're going to have one set piece. We're going to carry this with the weird shit that we're doing.
Piggybacking off of what you said, I really love how this shows you can do a minimalistic, low budget movie. So like with very little resources, and still have it be like over the top and maximal. Yeah, and grand. Mm-hmm. I love movies that lean so hard into their limits that they end up maximalist as fuck, where it's just like, yeah, we're going to embrace that we don't have sets. And so instead we're going to paint our set with color. We're going to do these bombastic characters. It's just, and make this something out of nothing. It's just amazing.
I was just floored the whole time. I really loved one of the scenes that I wrote down that I particularly loved. The way they shot it was during the storm, and they just had these like 2-dimensional lightning bolts and the blue lights. I also really loved that they used a mirror, I think, to show the water when they were on it. I thought that was really creative. Just so many little things. I was just like, oh, that's so clever.
And I love when you can see the strings like that, where you're reminded, like, oh, actual effort went into this. Because I feel like sometimes movies are so obsessed with making things look seamless, making CGI look like real or whatever, that sometimes I like being reminded, like, oh, actually, this was a lot of work, and that's why it looks so cool, you know? There's a shot that I really like. And you know what? This movie is almost more like fantasy comedy than it is horror, but there is one shot that really freaked me out, and it's when they reanimate the dead opera singer, and like she's lit in red and she like emerges out of this black set, and it's so freaky. And like I love how this movie looks like an old expressionist silent movie without just copying. You know, like it's very unique and you can tell like there's inspiration there, but doing it in a totally 2026 way. I'm just obsessed.
You're talking about liking the fact that you can see the strings and comparing that to maybe a film that goes with over the top CGI. I feel like given the emphasis they put on the collaborative effort of this and the community theater of it all, that just lends to that. Like how this movie it just shows like the beauty of a creative mind. Like, every part of this is just it's so wonderful.
And it's like a legacy of people coming together and making movies like this. Like it makes me think of Vegas in Space, which was made in like San Francisco apartment buildings, you know, where they turned apartments into intergalactic shopping malls and spaceships and stuff. And it was a bunch of drag queens in San Francisco making a movie. Or like an example that came up a lot in interviews was that Grace Glowicki recommended to the cinematographer that she really wanted it to look kind of like a Kenneth Anger movie. And I'm just going to shout out the cinematographer right now, Rain Vermette, because they did amazing. Like, so good. And Kenneth Anger was kind of the same way, where, like, a lot of his movies, it was like, oh, this is an actor, and this is shot in his apartment, or this is just this guy's bedroom. I liked his bedroom, so we shot there. You know, stuff like that, while also still being super maximalist and colorful and artistically interesting to look at. It's not minimalist, even though it's a low budget, and I'm just obsessed with that.
And they didn't plan a lot of it, the shots. It was a very spur of the moment.
Yeah, that is insane. Okay, so no storyboards. So you're familiar with storyboarding, yes?
For the most part.
Right. Well, for anybody who isn't, it's one of those things where it's like, Mitchell, I don't want to condescend. I just want to make sure we're
Jenny, you could never.
I never mean to, and then I do, and I'm like, oops, my bad. But, you know, with storyboarding, it is very much like this is what the shot is going to look like. It's not just like a vague idea of a scene. It's usually shot by shot. So, like, we are going from this angle, we're going from that angle. Here's some colors, maybe, depending on the artist. It can be as simple as stick figures, or it can be really detailed. It just depends. And
it's
so they didn't have
what
that
the
at all.
Yeah, describing what the shot is going to look like.
Yeah, visually, yeah. And it's really good for communicating between the cinematographer and the director and all of that. And so they did not have that at all. Instead, the actors would rehearse, and then the cinematographer would come in and see where they were going to be and what they would be doing. And then they decided what the shot would look like, which with 16 millimeter film, that is crazy to me. Like, because, you know, it's not like digital where you can just do it over and over and over again until you get it right. 16 millimeter, I don't think it used to not be that expensive, but now any film is, I think, you know?
It's not unlimited resource.
No. Yeah, you only have so much time to get it right. So, like, part of me is like, that's scary. And also, like, what chutzpah? Like, that's amazing.
Going along with that, they did have the luxury of, they were talking about the financing for the film, and because it was made in Canada, they were given some kind of, I don't know what the exact term is, they got a grant from the Canadian government to make this, which relieved a lot of the pressure.
I don't know if that's a lottery. I know some companies, it feels that way these days. But no, some countries have a lottery where, you know, you submit your idea and then they pick a few of them. I don't know how Canada's works, but it just makes me so angry that some people get to live in countries where the governments are like, we would like to support your art to represent our country. Please make something original and unique and, make what you want. Here's some money. Like, I want that. Oh, but this is like the third, I don't know if it's Canada, but this is like the third film I've seen this year at least where a government helped fund it, at least partially. Like,
I don't know if it was during one of your live streams with Movie John, but I remember hearing you talk about that with somebody, and I don't remember who it was.
yeah, probably.
Or
Yeah,
you were just
probably.
like, oh, live in a country where the government supports art.
Yeah, like that would be amazing. Cause yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure like David Cronenberg, that's a huge name. I think his first films, I'm pretty sure the Canadian government was like, yeah, please make your weird films. And look, he's like the Canadian horror filmmaker now. So it's like, Grace, you might be the next Cronenberg based on this, because I'm just obsessed. Another movie it made me think of was Video Diary of a Lost Girl, which was also incredibly colorful, incredibly aware of film history. That one's a bit more textual about it. It's less subtext, it's more text, but it's also incredibly colorful and done, in these black spaces with lots of color and very low budget. So I'm just, I just, yeah. I feel like I could like make a film festival around this movie, which makes me mad because because I just programmed some movies for Summer of Shelley, which half of it is Shelley Winters and half of it is inspired by Mary Shelley, and this would have been awesome for that.
Yeah, this is the season of Mary Shelley. I think this is the fourth Frankenstein related film I've seen, and I will say it is 100% my favorite of the bunch. Very close to Lisa Frankenstein. I really loved Lisa Frankenstein. God, I loved it. Like her costume when she was doing her science experiments. We got to talk about the makeup and the wiggery in this movie. I feel like obviously it was intentional. I mean, I think that also lends to we're trying to give a community theater vibe. The amount of community theater shows I've seen with a hard front wig that just ain't right. But in this context, it was just right.
You know what? With the whole Frankenstein of it all, I feel like this version of Frankenstein is maybe the most relevant in 2026, which sounds kind of weird because we have a lot of Frankenstein movies that have like big social messages, and then it's this weird little indie movie that I think is the most relevant. And I think it's because it's about somebody who will not move on. And so instead, like, makes their lover come back as, like, a finger, just a finger of what they once were. Like, it is not the full person. And they go to such really gross lengths, like squashing these lizards and stuff. It just made me think of, like, people getting, like, AI girlfriends or, like, writing AI obituaries or, or I think people are working on a thing where you can, like, feed an AI like either a lot of someone's writing or their social media or stuff, and you can like have them pretend to be your dead loved one and stuff like that. Like, I feel like this movie is very much saying maybe don't do that. It's gonna be kind of gross.
I don't know, Jenny. I think that sounds exactly like something I need in my life.
An AI boyfriend.
Some of the shit that these AI companies are doing, who is this for? But sure enough, there's a gaggle of fucking weirdos that are gonna eat that shit up.
Oh.
And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
I know. It's like, I feel like maybe 2-3 years ago, it's like, yes, I do want to see what I would look like in the 40s, like dumb crap like that. And then we were done. I was done. I feel like everyone should be done. And instead everyone's like, oh, look what it can do. And I'm like, my 4-year-old can do that with a pen and a paper, Like, come on.
Here we go again. We're going down the AI rabbit hole.
I will find a way to disparage AI every chance I get.
Oh, absolutely. It drives me crazy, the whole concept. Yeah, I was watching, this is nerdy, but I was watching Apple's
You?
WWDC, and basically it's their developer presentation where they show the software coming for Apple products. And a lot of it was centered around AI and how they're going to incorporate it into iPhones, Mac OS. And the whole time I'm just watching this shit and I'm like, just do it yourself, you lazy piece of shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, they're like showing, look at these cool things I can ask Siri to do. And I'm like, who does that?
I know. I ask Siri to play a song. That is my extent of Siri usage.
That's
Is please
fine.
play this song. Because you know what happens? If I ask anything more complicated than that, it doesn't fucking work.
But that's
I
what
will
they
be
want it to do.
well, it doesn't work. So
For some people, I'm just like, what are you so busy doing that you can't take the few extra seconds to make sure it gets done right? And that, you're using your brain. Nobody wants to use their brains anymore. We just God forbid we learn anything. I don't.
I think the problem is that everybody who uses it, kind of like a mad scientist, thinks that they're doing it the right way. It's like I don't want to say a supremacy thing, but it is like this idea. It's an exceptionalist thing. Like, I am special the way I use it. I use it the right way, so it's okay. So, there's people who are bad at numbers who are like, oh, I only use it for numbers. And there's people who are bad at writing who are like, oh, but I only use it for writing because I bad writing. And it's like, guys, no. And I just worry that it just keeps people from like seeking. This sounds so like corporate buzzwordy, but I feel like it stops you from seeking other people for help. Like, hey, Mitchell, you're good at this. Can you help me out? You do music. Can you make music? Like,
In a world of completely overrun with AI, this type of movie, tying this back to Dead Lover,
I was
would
like,
never.
what?
This movie is the could not be any less related to AI in concept and theory. It's
Yeah.
completely collaborative. It's all creative. It's just watch. We look it up. There's some part of it that was like massively AI.
No.
I'm just kidding, but it's just it's gross. I hate it, especially from a creative standpoint. How did we get to AI?
I was just talking about how like this movie seems to be, or at least maybe I'm interpreting it a little bit through the director's interviews, because she kind of talks a lot about like, don't look back, don't keep holding on to the past, like move forward, And I feel like AI is kind of like arrested development in a way, in that way, and so I feel like this movie is really relevant in that way. There was one more technical thing I wanted to both applaud them for and like marvel at them for, because I don't understand how they did this. So, no storyboard. I don't think a shot list. I don't know. 16 millimeter film. They didn't even have a monitor, Mitchell. Like, this is literally like going back in filmmaking history, like decades, to monitorless filmmaking. And so, like, even as they're shooting it, they can't see what it looks like until it's printed. And I'm like, that is so brave. Like, I am just obsessed with the process of just shooting this movie because it is so brave and gutsy and it looks beautiful. It would be one thing if they were brave and they were gutsy and it didn't turn out okay, but it turned out beautiful. And I'm just amazed because there are plenty of people making movies with monitors that they can, look at as they're doing it. They can look at it a million times afterwards and it still looks like crap. So I'm just like, whoa.
I mean, that speaks to the amount of trust that all these people had with each other, especially with the cinematographer, to be like, I can't tell what you're doing, but I'm going to trust that you're doing it the way it needs to look. And part of me wonders, I've never really been a part of a filmmaking process. So as far as how often those monitors get used, I can't imagine they let the actors use them a lot, do they? It's mostly for the director.
Yeah, like it can be useful for an actor just to like see where the camera is. Like, okay, you are going to be this close up when we shoot this scene. So be aware of that. Don't be moving your face like this when we're going to be this close. But I mean, that's stuff that you can communicate just by saying, hey, we're doing your close up. You know? So I think an actor that spends too much time at the monitors in Video Village, I think that's kind of a bad idea, unless you're just taking notes for when you inevitably try to direct.
Then yeah, that was a very smart choice to not have it, because if their goal was for this to read as, again, keep talking about community theater, they wanted this to feel very theatrical. If you have a bunch of actors trying to make it look one way and not letting the scene play out itself, it's going to immediately begin to not look like a community theater production.
Right. Like, imagine how in the moment you are when you can't play it back. You can't you can't double check, like, how was that? And I was like, we'll find out.
Which part of me wonders, I'm like, what movies have we seen where, what would they have been if we didn't have monitors in them? I would love to see this practice used again in a different, maybe a different context.
I would love that. And it's how movies, for I don't know how long, but for a really long time, that's how movies were made, I know the production designer William Cameron Menzies, who was actually the first to be called a production designer because he was an art director, but he did so much behind the scenes on Gone with the Wind. He even directed a little bit, that they called him a production designer. They were like, you need a better title. Anyway, he was like, I don't think the first, but he was known for making storyboards. So it's like up until 1930s when he was working, I don't think storyboards were really all that much a part of like early filmmaking. And so I feel like this movie is such a pull back from modern filmmaking into like, look, we've made movies this way before and it worked. Let's go back and do it again. And I 100% endorse Dead Lover. The more I talk about it, the more excited I get about it. I regret, like, I wasn't like, oh, this is mid. I was like, oh, that was good. And then, like, the more I think about it, I'm just more like, fuck yeah.
When I finished it, I knew that I loved this because this film is an anti-film. I don't know if that makes sense. It feels like they're making fun of so many, both making fun of and also deconstructing so many overdone, boring ideas. And
that's such a good word.
Just, which, I am a huge Meg Stalter fan, and elements of this just gave me, like, I felt like I was watching a Meg Stalter Instagram reel. It's just the most outlandish recorded stuff. But there were parts of this movie that really reminded me of Zombie Joe's.
Oh my God. Yes, this could totally. Oh, no, yeah. You go ahead.
Well, and feel free to interject because you've been to Zombie Joe's more than I have. But Zombie Joe's it's a theater, or like a theater trope, right, in Los Angeles?
This is the second time on this podcast you've said trope instead of troop. That's so
funny.
Troop.
God damn it.
Yeah. Today we gotta learn. Yes, it's a theater troupe that does like real horror show stuff. In North Hollywood, they have a little hole-in-the-wall theater, and it's like if this movie were less silly, Because I feel like this movie's really goofy in a lot of ways. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like going, which one's silly and which one's not.
Zombie Joe is very, like, there's a couple funny bits, but that stuff is dark.
The movie really reminded me. So I read at the beginning of the Zombie Joe experience. I don't remember the name of the event we went to.
I think we went to Urban Death.
Sure.
Because that's one of their like annual. One of their annual things is Urban Death.
You basically are going through a maze like you would, like your normal haunted maze, and then you land in the theater itself and you watch a short production. But anyways, when you're going through the maze, it's these trash bags that are very narrowly lining, and you're winding and bobbing and weaving, and you can only go in pairs.
And usually the flashlight barely works. You can barely see.
Yeah, so you get one flashlight, no phones, and it was me and Brian. And I don't remember if I had the flashlight or if Brian did. I was in the back because I was too scared. But anyways, we go turn a corner, and there's this actor standing on some kind of ledge, high up, perched, squatting, and pantomiming a fake turd. They're taking a shit, and they're making these noises, and it was so fucking funny. Maybe it's rude of me to think it was funny 'cause maybe it's supposed to be disturbing, but to me, I it was my favorite part of the whole show because I can very vividly remember the way that fake little turd looked, and just the sounds they were making. They're like hee hee
Well,
hee hee.
and you're turning the corner with like your little flashlight, and then suddenly there's an ass in your face. It's just like, what? I don't know if I can endorse any of this. All I know is that it's there, it's a choice, and it's really fun to bring your friends. So I don't know.
This movie reminded me of that. It's just this like really scrappy, just not a
Anything
we'll do
goes.
whatever.
My one caveat with Dead Lover, which, as I've made clear, I really enjoy it, is I don't actually care all that much about the plot. Like, it kind of like vignettes. It just, what really drove me to keep watching is what are they going to think of next? You know, instead of like, oh, I hope she brings her lover back. I'm like, I don't really. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know, but I just want to see what happens. Like,
To counter your negativity, I'm gonna share some positives, some more things I loved. I'm kidding, but also I really can't think of anything about this movie that I was just like I didn't have that. It was ever I was just eating this shit up left and right. And one of the well, first of all, I wrote down some of my favorite lines because there's a lot of gems in this movie for
I
lines.
knew you would. I never write down lines, but you've always got a few ready. So go on.
Yes, absolutely. So I want to lick your stink to taste your foulness.
Ooh.
That's a fun one. I want to shower in your rot.
This is actually what being married is like, where you like look your absolute worst and they're like, dang, you're hot. And it's like, I, I don't know how to take that.
We're gonna come back to that idea. And this is my favorite quote. The doctors make my testes ache, shock them, burn them, turn them blue. These pains are nothing to the one that longs to come inside of you. And again, and again, and again. I paused the movie and took a little picture of the because it was a written out love letter.
Oh my
Like,
god.
oh my god. But
You
going
know,
back
just
to
a
what,
little love note.
well, and I also this is maybe strange, but I also think it's real. This the beauty within the grossness is so real. Like when you really do love somebody, you like the gross parts about them. And there's so many parts about this that I actually, even though it's so outrageous and kind of gross at times, it's also just like there's parts that I thought were really beautiful. I loved when he kept saying, "You are not a metaphor for beauty, you are beauty." And just seeing this character who's been, she feels like nobody will ever love her, and she found it. And like the combination of both these like ridiculous lines and then some of these other lines that are not, that are just actually really nice were mixed in. I liked the balance of this and just these little moments where it's like, oh, that's actually really nice.
Yeah, that is kind of love, isn't it? It can be gross, it can be ridiculous, you know? I mean, like, when you read other people's love letters, it's like, okay. Every once in a while, you know, they're poetic beauty and stuff, but other times it's just kind of like, you didn't have to write all that, but I mean, I'm glad for you guys, I guess, you know?
And the way in which they go about the filthiness of this movie definitely, absolutely made me think of Pink Flamingos and John Waters. Just this idea of how, just like this love for filth and that relationship just made me think of Pink Flamingos.
Well, and like, I don't know if we really got into this, that this reanimated finger grew so fucking long. It was like a yardstick. And it's like, yeah, that did feel very John Waters, where like I feel like a normal person would be like, oh, it's a reanimated finger. But in this movie, they were like, let's just make it longer and longer and more grotesque, so that when it does get attached to a body, it's like this giant pointer stick.
And when it's growing, she's like, where's the rest of you?
It's so gross. And then, of course, the finger fingers her, and it's like,
It's one of those things where it's like during the, I was like, I know this is coming. That finger's gonna do
Yeah.
something sexual. That
Yeah.
finger's gonna get down.
right, they didn't make it that long for nothing.
I also love how aware of itself it is. It's just the way in which they handle the humor. I love when they know what they're doing is absolutely absurd. And there's not a single character that I did not like in this movie. All of these little side characters, they all were just so perfect. The nuns, whenever they'd come up, I'm like, what the fuck are these horny nuns? And then they just like, they were in one short scene and all of a sudden they reappear at the end and they're like creeping through the woods. And they
Right.
like look over shocked and then they and I wrote down the line shame, shame, shame. It was the three like crone characters,
Yes,
like
it's like
the
a Greek
gossips.
chorus, yeah.
Yes, and the way they said shame, 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 it just like I can picture having these moments with my own friends where it's like, who can say the word shame in the most weird way, and we're just gonna keep building off each other. And you can tell all these people like each other and get a kick out of each other, and that's good comedy to me.
Right? It's like, have talented friends and have fun making your art instead of being like, oh, we're going to make this very serious movie about how I hate my mother. And instead it's like, I'm going to do a funny voice in the most beautiful shot you can imagine. I'm going to hire one of the most talented cinematographers I know. I'm going to make this with my husband. Like, wow. Just wow. Goals, make art fun again. And gross.
And it wouldn't be an episode of CineFilth where we don't talk about some type of element of queerness in this. And I think it was very I loved the gender play in this movie, as far as anybody will play any role and it doesn't fucking matter. Well, it matters. And I mean that in a good way, but like, as in, we're not sticking to, it's not about, we have to conform. It's anybody can play any role if we want them to.
And it's weird, like I barely even think about it. I'm like, oh yes, of course this person's playing this role. Like that just makes sense. That's their character. But it sometimes I'm so far in the things I like, it's weird to think of like an outsider perspective. Like, oh, let's go to the church down the block and think what they think about the casting choices in Dead Lover.
Maybe I'm being problematic because I'm hyper aware of it, but the second I see anything like that, I'm like, fuck yeah, more of this. Because I think it just brings new perspectives to these character types. It's like seeing, it just creates for a very interesting experience. I also thought it was really, I've loved when they were reanimating these bodies, they weren't looking for a specific gender. They just were, the selection process for what body they're going to reanimate, it was just kind of like, I can't even remember the exacts of what she was looking for when she decided the bride. I think wasn't it because, well, she was related to him, so she'd be kind of the same.
Right, that's right. Weren't they siblings? Am I right?
Correct. I'm pretty sure that was her brother, I want to say.
Yeah. You'll have to forgive me. I watched this like over a week ago. What a world, what a world. But yeah, they were like related, and so she was like, oh, that's good enough, and like didn't even stop to be like, oh, that's a little different. Like, no, it was just like, I'm doing what I gotta do.
Yeah, like, yeah, they're available.
Yeah. Super progressive, super woke. Can the record please show, though, that I am capable of liking a Frankenstein movie made by a woman? I do not hate women filmmakers. Oh.
Here we go again. Jenny's got to talk about Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride.
I didn't say it. You said it. I'm just drinking my like 12-hour-old iced coffee and pointing out that sometimes I do like Frankenstein based stories by women filmmakers.
So proud of you. This is what Grace had to say. It was that she's not actively thinking about it, but was intentional about not restricting it. I immediately understood. Like, I remember thinking this while I was watching the movie. She was mentioning a love of classic comedy tropes, having actors play different genders due to actor limitations. And this movie was so cool. I haven't seen anything like it.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show that like sometimes we think of like when you said comedy troupes where people like do the gender bending, it made me think of SNL and Saturday Night Live and stuff. And I'm like, sometimes the ways that are like old school were done because they work, So I think like sometimes we're trying so hard to innovate when you can do things that work and also make something unique, if that makes sense.
I think so, yeah.
Like doing things that have proven over time to be funny, to be beautiful. I think there are some things that are just universal, that are eternal, and Dead Lover kind of shows that. Dead Lover. I love it. If you love Cindy Sherman's Untitled Horrors, you will love Dead Lover. If you love Video Diary of a Lost Girl, Dead Lover. If you have, you know what? There's one reason that I know that somebody did not enjoy Dead Lover, and it's because those theaters gave out like Odorama cards.
Oh, yeah, I read about that.
Mm-hmm. I had a friend who got a really bad headache and like had to leave. So like, proceed with caution if you get a scratch and sniff card so that you can enjoy the movie to the best of your ability. But otherwise, go see Dead Lover.
We got to support shit like this. I need more of it in my life, because it's just like, it's like a palate cleanser. I've been seeing all the horror movies coming out this year, and it's gotten to the point where a lot of them are starting to bleed together. There are a handful of standouts that I really enjoy. I still kind of consider this horror, but also I feel like horror as a genre is really just...
It's big, right? Whenever people try and stereotype it, like, oh, this is what a horror movie is, it's like, it can be, but it's so broad.
What's the Gia Gunn quote? There's space for everybody, or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, but yeah, just seeing this, it's so anti anything you're used to seeing. And it just makes me excited about movies. It makes me appreciate community theater, because I've had ups and downs with that experience. Both
of us have a lot of experience in community theater type spaces, and it's like, this is what's possible.
Which I'd be interested to see how this movie would resonate with somebody who's never done community theater, because it screams it, and that's why I was just so... It was part of what really drew me in, because I was like, it just felt like I was there, but in a way better context, because I'm like, oh, this is what could be.
That's inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this makes me want to act. I want to be in a space with other people who aren't just completely ego driven and trying to be better than the other person. It's just like, let's just get together, set up a camera, and be fucking weird.
I was reading an acting book by Michael Caine, and it was like, here are the 3 types of problem actors, and it was like the upstager, the distractor. I don't think that's what it was called, but it was somebody who did something during your big moment, and the staller, the people who stretch out their lines so that they have more time with the attention on them. And I was reading it, and I'm like, I have worked with every single one of those, and I freaking hate it. And so, yeah, we should just make our CineFilth the movie. I
would be down. It's like...
This movie makes us want to make movies.
Well, it's like, I feel like my theater experience has always been about, how can I make this as realistic as possible? And this movie is kind of just like, that's not fun. Like, it's so boring.
How can we have fun?
Well, and also it lends more to, you're going to get a better result because you're going to get that individual actor's voice through that through that character, which I guess, towards the end of my theater education, we're kind of starting to look into that as far as, lending your voice.
There's a school around where the whole thing is like, what's your type? What's your type? What's your type? And I'm like, I don't give a flying fuck what your type is. Like, are you good? Are you good at being yourself? First and foremost, are you good at being yourself and being like honest? And I feel like this movie is so silly, but it's so honest because everyone is free to just explore and have fun and be themselves, within these characters and what they can bring to those characters. But yeah, with Dead Lover, like literally during the rehearsal process, they all got to try different characters except for Grace, who had Gravedigger. But they all got to try different characters. And so at the end of the day, everyone knew what character they wanted and nobody wanted the same part because they knew what worked for them. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah, and they didn't even know, like, relatively until really close to actually shooting who they were actually going to play because they're all just trying different things. And there's a lot of people, this would be their worst fucking nightmare.
It's like the acting fantasy, though, where you don't get almost every like professional actor. I haven't talked to all that many professional actors, but the ones I have talked to is they get really frustrated getting pigeonholed, and they're like, oh, I can do so much more. And so I just think this is, for a good actor, this is the fantasy, is, play and branch out, stretch your muscles, stretch your acting muscles.
Yeah, and if you are premature graying and you're 21 years old, you're always going to be playing the dad or the grandpa or something.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That didn't happen to me.
Super creative casting, Lord Almighty.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, love Dead Lover. Please go support this.
Yep, if it's playing near you, go see it. Otherwise, you can rent it on Letterboxd. Hopefully more places soon. Well, Mitchell, do you know what you want to talk about next time, or are we going to keep it a secret for now?
What do you want to do?
Let's just say we're going to do an older movie next. We've done a lot of new movies lately, or newer movies, and we're going to go back in time a little bit, and we'll see where it takes us.
Okay, well, I don't know shit about older movies, so you're going to be on, you let me know.
Okay.
I'll be locked in.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Sweet dreams.